Okay, so we're going to look at importing assets into After Effects and animating them. To do this, we've got the assets already pre-created, two Adobe Illustrator documents and some footage. So to do that, we can actually just double-click in the project panel here, and that will open up the navigation window, and then we can navigate to wherever the files are that we need. And they're stored inside the assets folder here, and then if we select initially this first Illustrator document, now what we want to do is we want to bring it in as separate layers because it's been created on separate layers in Illustrator. So if we go to import as and select composition, retain layer sizes, and it keeps everything at the size it was created at, and then import that in. And what it does, it automatically creates a composition that should match that will match the size of the previous composition we created in here. Now you see that the dimensions 1921/080 are fine, frame rate's fine, duration is too short, so it's 5 seconds at the moment. I want to change it to 10 seconds. If I want to change any of the properties of a composition, if I select the composition here and then press Ctrl K, that'll open up the properties of that particular composition, and then you can see here all those settings, and we've got the duration here, which I want to alter to from 5 to 10. Okay, and to make sure we can see all these layers, obviously we can rearrange panels if we want, but we can see all 9 layers here. So what we want to do is we want to create a little animation where the owl and the text fade in. So what we can do, so we've imported this in as separate layers, so that makes the animation much easier. We can deal with all these layers separately and animate them separately. So if I click on the text here, you'll see these control handles appear around it. What I also want to do is I just want to drag layer 8 up, so it is, select layer 8 and drag that up so it's on top of the layer hierarchy here. Okay, so you see the name has moved up to the top there, and then I want to animate the opacity. So to do that, if we press T, and you'll see that opacity becomes visible, so we can isolate that property. What we can also do is we can toggle on and off layers here, so we can show and hide what's on all these individual layers. Helps us obviously when you're dealing with multiple layers. This becomes more and more important. Okay, so I want to duplicate this layer 9, the solid green layer, green background. So if Control C to copy, Control V to paste, make sure it's activated, and you see we've got a duplicate there, which I'm then going to drag up and put that in second place, just below the owl, the text graphic. Okay, so we've on the owl preserve layer and the green solid layer, press Control T, so we've got the opacity property visible. Okay, so what we want to do now is animate the owl and the text fading in one after the other. So if we look at the owl first of all, which is on the behind the second layer, this green layer here. So I want that to initially start at, so if we click on the opacity value here on the timer, that automatically inserts a keyframe. And then if I move to frame 1, so I can type in 100 here, and that'll move the playhead to exactly frame 1. And then if I click on the diamond here, that will insert a second keyframe here. If I select the second keyframe here, and just make sure the playhead is directly over your keyframe, and if we reduce the opacity value to 0, that has the effect of fading out the green overlay, which sort of reveals the owl underneath. Okay. So now what I want to do subsequent to that is I want the text to fade in as well. So again, underneath the owl preserve text, if I click on the timer here, that'll automatically insert a keyframe. Now I want the text to fade in. Okay, and I want it to fade in exactly 1 frame after this first keyframe here. So what I can do again in the timer window here is if I type in plus 100, that moves the playhead on by exactly one keyframe. Then I can click on the diamond and that will insert our second keyframe. So we want the text to have faded in there, so that's fine. We move the playhead back to the first keyframe where we want the text to be hidden, okay, or invisible. So at this point I turn the opacity down to 0, and you can see that has the effect of fading the text in. So if I just scrub back to the beginning, press spacebar, so we've got the owl fading in and the text fading in.